Hi, my name is Haley Carlton, and welcome to TikTok Tuesday. Throughout this video series, I'm going to be addressing everything I can about Tourette Syndrome, and with each episode is going to be a different main topic. This is episode 1, what is Tourette Syndrome? This episode is going to be very brief, basic, just really the surface level of Tourette Syndrome, and then in later episodes, we're going to dive in deeper. You know, all we see is really the tip of the iceberg. So later, the whole point of this hashtag, this video series, is to dive in deeper, to raise awareness, to foster social acceptance, and really break down the barriers, the misconceptions and misrepresentations, the stereotypes of Tourette syndrome and tic disorders, and really just gain some understanding, I would say. So yeah, I guess we should go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and let you know I have Tourette syndrome. Hi, nice to meet you. And all right, here we go. So also, before I forget, I do have everything I want to say on the computer in front of me. I'm also providing this is also providing me a light source, and so I don't go off the rails and lose track, because I'm not used to talking on a camera or even my phone. This is my phone. I'm not used to that. So I'm sorry if it's very informal. I am trying my best here. I'm not a professional. I'm just not even an amateur. I'm very beginner when it comes to talking on camera, not Tourette syndrome. Anyway, here we go. So Tourette syndrome is a neurodevelopmental disorder that is characterized by involuntary or uncontrollable vocalizations and movements called tics. Neuro meaning in the brain, developmental meaning occurs as you grow older. So neurodevelopmental. Now, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, or DSM-5, states the following. Again, I wrote this down so I don't forget. So the criteria to be diagnosed with Tourette syndrome: you must have 2 or more motor tics and at least 1 vocal tic. And these tics must also persist for at least 1 year, and they must also be present onset before the age of 18. Tics must also not be a result from direct physiological effects from a substance such as stimulants like cocaine, or an underlying condition, a general medical condition like a movement disorder such as Huntington's disease. Now, Tourette syndrome is actually on the spectrum of tic disorders, and I would say it's the most severe of the tic disorders. Right after that, we have persistent or chronic tic disorder. In order to be diagnosed with this disorder, you must have 1 or more motor or vocal tics, but not both. That's what's important to this one. You could have persistent motor tic disorder or persistent vocal tic disorder, but you cannot have both to be diagnosed with this disorder. And these tics must also occur many times a day throughout the day, on and off throughout a period of more than 1 year. So very similar to Tourette syndrome, except it's one or the other instead of both. The rest is the same, happens before the age of 18 and does not result from a substance or another condition. After that, we have provisional, or what used to be called transient tic disorder. Now, this again is very similar to persistent or chronic tic disorder. 1 or more motor or vocal tics, except with this one you can have both motor and vocal, but 1 or more. And the big difference with this one is that it's, I guess, kind of a precursor, but not really. Basically, the tics cannot persist longer than 12 months. I guess the way I could put this into words, again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not licensed to diagnose anybody. I can only tell you the facts. So, for instance, if you or your child, you notice your child has 1 or more tics that can be motor and or vocal, that persist less than a year, your child or you probably do not have Tourette syndrome or any other tic disorder. It might just be provisional tic disorder and it'll go away. However, that is not the case for every single person. So it could also turn into persistent or chronic tic disorder or even Tourette syndrome. Like I said, it happens before the age of 18. So as you're growing as a kid and getting older, things change. So a lot of noticeable differences, a lot of things can really happen in that amount of time. But that is the criteria, the DSM criteria for Tourette syndrome and the 2 other tic disorders. All right, I've already mentioned before what tics are. They are involuntary movements or vocalizations. And I know I said earlier motor tics and vocal tics. I'll go ahead and define those really quick. So motor tics are involuntary movements, and then phonic tics, vocal tics, same thing, are involuntary sounds or speech. Now, with both of these tics, they can either be simple or complex, meaning, well, actually they're a little bit different for both. So for motor tics, you have simple and complex. With vocal, you also have simple and complex. I don't think I can say that enough in this video. With simple motor tics, they usually just involve one muscle group. So I don't know if I've done this enough in the video, but this right here is called finger flexing. That is considered a simple motor tic, and I do that a lot. Another might be considered eye blinking or shoulder shrugging or head nodding, which I've also done in the past. As for complex, they usually involve multiple muscle groups or really a combination of different movements that tend to look intentional, like jumping, hopping, sticking your tongue out, like that. For me, I do stick my tongue out a lot and hope that no one notices. As for vocal tics, the simple are just going to be the sounds, hooting, barking, sniffing, clearing your throat, that kind of stuff. And then for complex, those are going to be your words and phrases that may or may not be recognizable, but occur out of context inappropriately or unexpectedly. I feel like this is where the stereotypes really come into play. You've heard of the misrepresentation of people swearing all the time, and that's all Tourette's is. Spoiler, that is not true, and I will talk about that in an upcoming episode that is called coprolalia. It's hard for me to pronounce these words also. And all that is a complex vocal tic, which is talking, saying inappropriate things, inappropriate times, swearing, that kind of stuff. And that doesn't occur in every single person. We're also gonna, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. That's also gonna be a different episode. I'm going to do a statistics episode. Statistics. Okay. You know, which I think will be fun. I'll talk about the ratio, boys to girls, who has it more, Tourette syndrome, and then other tics that are very common, that kind of stuff. As for me personally, I always say that anything can be a tic. Now, this isn't what I'm saying, what I'm currently saying right now doesn't come from everyone else, just me personally. Anything can become a tic. Anything I've ever said, seen, heard, or done could be a tic. I don't know how it happens, but I noticed like years later, I'm like, oh, that's where that tic came from. Huh. And it just happened subconsciously. All right. I think I've covered everything. I guess the rest I'd like to say is, again, me personally, I was not diagnosed until I was about 17 or 18 years old. However, I have dealt with Tourette syndrome since I was about 5 years old. The sad part was I was never properly diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed at all. I was pretty much prescribed as like, yeah, she'll grow out of it. Another spoiler alert, I never did grow out of it. But I'm really okay with it because I developed my own coping mechanisms on my own suppression techniques, and I'm very proud of myself for that. All right, I think that's all I have to say for this episode. I would just like to thank every single person for supporting me, for loving me, for being there for me, and for accepting and understanding me, because that's been a struggle my entire life. I have finally found a community that loves me and understands me, and it's the best thing ever, and I'm so thankful and grateful. And yeah, I guess I can't thank y'all enough for everything. So thank y'all very much, and I will see you next week on TikTok Tuesday. Bye.